Hi, Ryan. Are we audible to you? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Lavindra. Good morning, Katika.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have I think you have a growing fan base in this part of the world now.
Yes, very excited. Yeah.
Is the dogging with you? That is my first question.
She actually just snuck in. So.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, hi.
Yes.
Hi.
So she's I closed the door, but she knows how to open the door. So she basically, I literally tried to block the door. That's her little towel that she loves.
Oh,
So she knows how to get in and out. So now she's trying to get out of the door because I think that. Oh, now she's crying because she wants to get outside.
Yeah. No. Attend to her. That's not a problem whatsoever.
Yes.
Well, that is adorable.
So, yes, and hopefully soon we're going to have some good news on Wild Earth and India. Not yet. We have a great partner.
Okay.
And
oh, really?
Yes. We have a great partner. So hopefully soon I'll be able to announce some things. Not yet, but soon meaning months, right? Not that.
That's soon enough. That is quite soon enough, actually.
I think about two or 3 months we'll be able to announce something very, very cool and exciting.
We obviously want the exclusive, right, Larry?
Yeah. No,
she's always thinking.
We're super excited to bring plant-based dog food to India. So we're really excited about vegetarian dog food. We think.
It's huge. It should be really good. Oh, yes. I'm glad. That's really great news. Congratulations, Ryan.
Thank you. So yes, I'm looking forward to. Here we go.
Yeah, sorry, we're still here. So we're gonna stream you on Facebook Live as well, and Zoom and multiple other platforms.
Okay.
So just want to let you know that. And what will happen is that people will sort of obviously send questions in. And Karthika will sort of moderate that a little bit, and maybe towards the latter part of, I think we have a half an hour, right, Ryan?
Yeah. And
so
towards if we need a little more time, I can go over it. Meetings now.
So we'll keep the questions for the end. Karthika may pop in and ask some questions if it's very pertinent to the conversation, but we'll just go ahead and have those questions come in at the end. So just to formally, welcome to Pandemic Punditry. Putting the planet on a pandemic diet series. Great to have you, Ryan. A real pleasure for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure. I'm very, very excited. Very excited about everything that's happening around the pandemic diet, and obviously, hopefully, for our entire planet in terms of moving us forward.
Absolutely. So, how nerve-wracking was it really to go on Shark Tank? Obviously, look, you're an investor. You've done pitches all your life. It must have been a lot less stressful than some of the entrepreneurs that we see going on that show.
Yeah, you would think.
I would think. I'm just assuming.
I would think too. I was like, no. I've done lots of pitches. I know how to pitch. I've helped entrepreneurs pitch. There is nothing like going on to, essentially the stage on Shark Tank. It's a big stage with camera crews and you don't get an opportunity to meet the sharks before you pitch. So the first time the sharks have ever seen you and the first time you've ever seen them is the moment the doors open, and it's real. It's very real. Like even though it's a show, the whole experience is real. And what they tell you is that even if you fall on the floor, pick yourself back up and keep talking, because that's it. You're not. They're not
going to do a retake. In other words,
there's no retake. There's no retakes. That's what. And honestly, they love those moments when entrepreneurs go on there and they go and they just get stuck and they get lost. They love those moments because people love watching that stuff. And so walking in, I thought I was really ready. And the way that they do it is basically you get there like 6 a.m. You're in like a little at the time it was in Los Angeles. It was a little like a little trailer that was very hot, and you're just thinking. It's just you and your thoughts, and you're in the trailer. It's early, you're sleepy, and you're just thinking, oh, I hope this goes well. I hope this goes well. There's going to be millions of people watching me. There's going to be millions of people, and it just goes round and round in your head. And so it was pretty intense. I ended up, I was just memorizing. I was just thinking about all the questions they could ask me and memorizing my lines, and I can't mess up my lines. And and it was pretty nerve-wracking. Like I walked, so when I walked down the hallway, the long hallway for Shark Tank, the doors opened, and there were all, you know, these 5 sharks, super famous, right? Mark Cuban, Damon, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, Lori, and there was actually guest shark, Matt Higgins, as well. And so it was just like, wow, these are real people in front of me, and I have a moment to pitch them. You know, a moment. I mean, it turned out to be about 40 minutes total pitching, but they condensed it to about 10 minutes pitching.
Sure. Right.
And what they don't tell you is that when you're pitching, the sharks are talking at you. So you have your lines and the things you want to say, your pitch,
right.
And the sharks are trying to make fun of things that you're saying, making faces, and so it's really hard to focus. And so I got into almost like a meditative state. It was literally, we walked in, I spoke, and I just kind of woke up at the end of the meditative, like at the end of the speech, and I was like, did I just talk?
So what, I mean, were you shocked when they started actually eating the dog food?
Yes, yeah. So
that was not planned.
No, that was not planned. No, that was not planned. So basically, you know, because I thought, well, maybe they might look at it, and I was like, I'm going to eat it to show them that, you know, look, this is vegetarian, this is plant-based, this is clean, this is healthy, unlike the other dog foods. And then, by the way, I ate it, and my mouth was so dry because I was so nervous that I found it hard. Like, one of the sharks was like, do you need water? Because I was like, so I was so nervous. My mouth was very dry, and then all of a sudden we handed out, and they saw me eating it, and they started eating the dog food, and so I was like, all the sharks are eating our dog food and our treats, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. You know, to see like Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, eat our dog food, see Mark Cuban eat our dog food, see Damon eat our dog food, and so Lori, and so, you know, it was like this crazy experience. And, you know, I've helped entrepreneurs pitch. I pitched lots of times. I've raised money from some incredible investors. And that was definitely the hardest pitch I've ever done. Unlike anything I've ever done. I can only imagine maybe going on a live stage and doing a musical performance or a play or something. Maybe it might feel that way.
Peter Thiel, one of your, the founder of PayPal, was one of your early investors, right? I mean, so this is not the first time you dance with the big boys. I mean, you know.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the first time. And Peter Thiel is another fascinating character too. You know, when I pitched him, it's always strange with Peter because he gets things that you wouldn't imagine that he would get. Like the pet food market, he totally understood it. He understood the link between diet and health of us and our animals, you know, things that he really deep understandings. But kind of just to wrap up with the Shark Tank stuff, you know, after the pitch, I did all the things they tell you not to do on Shark Tank. We had no sales. We had a prototype. We raised it at a higher valuation. And so I was going in there going, oh my goodness, like, I hope I don't look like a fool. And turns out I was live in front of 3.6 million people were watching that night. So 3.6 million people were watching me pitch and talk about the benefits of plant-based diet for us and for our pets in the US. And I was like, please, as long as I don't come out looking like a total fool, you know, because this is a huge event in the US. And in the end, I mean, Kevin, Mr. Wonderful, was very funny. He started making jokes about how everyone is going plant-based and vegan, and oh my goodness, this is a trend and you can't get away from it.
Right.
These poor, you know, vegan dogs, you know, plant-based dogs. Very funny. And then at the end, Mark Cuban made an offer. Total surprise. I didn't expect that. Total surprise. I knew he had an interest in alternative protein, healthier diets. I knew that. And we accepted his offer. So the biggest surprise, honestly, after Shark Tank, he invested, and he has been a huge help with us as a company. So I really thought he would invest. He was a celebrity. He would go away, and he doesn't. I talk to him almost every week. and he's super supportive of Wild Earth and what we're doing, our mission. He actually announced recently that he's gone vegetarian, mostly vegetarian.
Yeah,
So,
I heard that.
Yeah, that was huge. Like that was months and months after, about a year after we went on to the show, and I was totally surprised. Like, Mark, you've gone vegetarian? He's like, yeah, it's good, it's healthy,
Yeah. So are you? I mean, so you have eaten your own dog food. Obviously, you've done that several times.
Always, I eat my own dog food all the time. That's the point.
So has any of the other CEOs of companies like Pedigree, Purina, Science Diet ever eaten their own dog food? And why not?
No, they never respond to it when I'm like, look, if you really think your dog food is so great, so healthy, you should eat it, right? You should eat it. I mean, I've eaten days worth of our dog food in one sitting, right? And honestly, it's because it's vegetarian, it's clean, it's healthy, and so I'm comfortable eating it. I wouldn't eat Purina, Pedigree, Blue Buffalo, because it's just I wouldn't trust what's in it, right? It's just not. It's it's meat. I don't eat meat anymore, so I wouldn't eat it. And not only that, on top of that, it's not human grade meat, and so it's who knows what's in there.
So explain that human grade meat thing to people. I think that I think people don't realize that you throw in everything from feathers to all kinds of parts that humans don't eat go into dog food. Is that true, or am I exaggerating?
Yeah, no, that's very true. A lot of people don't even realize what's in pet food. So in the U.S. as an example, and actually India is huge. I'm sure you're aware that everyone's going pet crazy in India.
Right.
People are getting pets like crazy, especially dogs. And younger generations are very excited about dogs at home in India and in the U.S. In the U.S., we've already gone pet crazy. Everyone has a pet. And what's happened in the U.S. is that about 25 to 30% of the meat that we use, that we consume, goes to our pets, right? 25 to 30%. And what's crazy is that, so not only are we running entire factory farms just for our pets when we don't need to, for protein. It's just protein, which we can get from plants, we can get from fungi, we can get from other sources other than animals. But on top of that, to lower costs, there's a certain category, non-human grade meat. That means meat that is illegal to put into the human food system, right? Things that are unsafe for us to eat, right? For humans to eat. So that gets put into our pets' food. I don't know why anyone would feel comfortable with feeding something that is unsafe to us, to their pets. I would never do that. I would never feed Liza that. But all sorts of really gross, like starts with the really gross things to the really dangerous things. So like feathers, beaks, things that you would imagine are unedible. What they actually do is they use enzymes to melt it into goo, and then they turn it into somewhat digestible protein goo, all the way through to like really dangerous. So the FDA has found contaminated meat of animals that have been euthanized. So I don't know if you're familiar with euthanasia, pentobarbital. Sure.
Yeah.
So it appears that horses are being euthanized, and that meat, that contaminated meat, which has a chemical which actually killed the animal, is getting into dogs' foods. And about a year or two ago, there was about 100 million units that were recalled because they had high levels of what's called pentobarbital. It's a euthanasia drug. And so the animals are getting very sick, and in some cases, some died just by eating their food. So my mission, my focus is like, hey, not only is it healthier for us to eat plant-based, and we believe for our pets, but on top of that, the meat that's going in to feed them is just not safe and not healthy. And so, there have been a lot of pet parents that have reached out that have been like, I had no idea. I had no idea this was going on. And it's kind of like a little dirty hidden secret. We all talk about how we're eating healthier. We don't talk about our pets. And so we really want to change that at Wild Earth.
I think, Kartika, you had a question.
I actually did have a really good question, Ryan. So dogs are carnivorous, right? So aren't we sort of interfering with their wolf nature by feeding them plant-based food?
Yeah, good question. We get that all the time. So that's a common misconception, right? So I'm sure, especially in India, when you're cooking for yourself, you're feeding some chapatis or something to your dogs, that's a vegetarian product, right? So like dogs are actually omnivores like us. And so for those of us that have dogs, we know, my dog will eat things like, strawberries and all sorts of other things. dogs are omnivores like us. They're a little bit more adapted. They can eat meat for sure. And anyone that's seen a dog pick up a bone from the street knows that they also eat meat. But the important thing is that dogs need protein, right? And they need a certain mixture of amino acids. You can get that from plants and you can get that from animal meat. You don't have to have it from animals. So when we say, carnivores, even the term carnivore is kind of an outdated idea. It came from a very different time when we didn't really understand nutrition and digestion of different animals. So even for, let's say, cats that are considered obligate carnivores, right? From lions and tigers to kitty cats, they basically need just certain nutritional supplements and amino acids. And it doesn't really matter where those amino acids come from, whether it's plants or mushrooms or fungi or animal proteins. And so what we did at Wild Earth is we looked at the nutritional needs of a dog, which are pretty well understood, and we designed a product that was superior to what we believe is out there in the marketplace. So what is the basic needs your dog needs, and then let's go above that, and let's provide additional things for health based on what we know about 21st century nutrition. So things like prebiotics, good for the gut digestion, things like that, things that are outside of even, is your dog getting enough protein? So we made sure we took care of that, because that's the biggest criticism of plant-based diets. Plant-based diet, it's low in protein. So ours is actually higher in protein than many of the commercial brands. So we have 31% protein. It's a high protein dog food, which is more similar to wolf ancestral diets in terms of protein, but it's plant-based.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Actually,
that's
speaking of cats, Larry, I just have a follow-up question, because the audience really, really wants to know if you're planning on making a plant-based cat food.
We are. And so we are a science-based company. And so we're working on, we want to make the best cat food. So the dog food was actually not that hard for us. I mean, it took a long time to develop the dog food to make sure it was a great dog food. We're going to do the same process for cat food. We want to bring 100% cruelty-free, animal-free, high nutrition pet food across the board. So the cat food is going to take us longer to develop, but we are, we're thinking about all the cat parents, including all the cat parents that are at Wild Earth. They're waiting for this product. So we just want to make sure that when we develop something, it's great. So, our dog food, we think it's the best in the world in terms of, from a health aspect, from a safety aspect, from a kindness aspect.
Sure.
And so we want to do the same for cats. But that's probably a little out, probably a year out.
And I don't think people understand. I mean, they think it's a sort of the pet food industry is huge, isn't it? I mean, it's in the multi-billions, isn't it? I mean, we don't realize.
It's in the US, it's $30 billion. Globally, it's $90 billion. Wow. And particularly because of India and China, it's going to grow to be $120 billion. So pet ownership in the US is growing about 4% year on year. In India, it's growing 20% year on year.
Wow. And I know the Chinese also, I mean, there's huge. A lot of things there. Yeah.
Huge growth. I mean, the Chinese are going pet crazy. So both in India from a smaller base, but in China, last time I was in Shanghai, I saw all these little dogs in the dog park, like in the parks, and so I was like, oh, where did everyone get all these dogs? And it was because the government has basically allowed people to have dogs now in their apartments. And so now people love dogs, and so they're getting dogs. And in India, it's a very similar thing. When people people are moving into places where they have backyards or they have more space, and they want to get dogs and cats.
So 120 billion is the number you told me, right? With China and India. Yeah,
it's going to be 120 billion, I think, by 2025 or 2030, something like that. So it's going to be a huge market. And in fact, the total number of dogs, pet dogs, is actually going to be more in China this year or next year than in the US. So that's the scale of growth that's happening already. So really the primary markets for pets is really going to be, within the next decade, it's going to be Asia. So India and China driving the pet market. And then obviously the US will still be a very large pet market as well.
So geographic expansion for you, obviously, I mean, you sort of broke it that you're definitely coming to India soon.
Yeah, we are definitely coming to India.
So does that mean that you actually
have a proper announcement? We're going to have a proper announcement.
Yeah. But you're going to put a factory there, or you're just going to ship it across the waters?
Eventually the aim is really to just do a lot more in India. So that's been part of my personal strategy. I am super excited about India. I think that India, is already a leading plant-based market. We know that.
Right.
But India, in terms of innovation, Indians are renowned for their innovation globally in technology. And I think we're going to see, a huge amount of innovation in the food space as well. So food is technology. And so that's been one of the mind shifts that we've seen in the US, right? That's been a lot of the companies that I've helped get off the ground and start and fund in the US have actually been that understanding that food is technology. And so as that's porting across to India now, I think it's going to be even more large, even huger. Yeah.
So I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and you just mentioned, because you've been a prolific investor, 70 plus biotechnology companies. I don't know if that number is even higher. What has this pandemic changed your investment profile at all? I mean, or what are you still sort of gung ho about a particular type of investment?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a really great point. So I would say the pandemic has accelerated my view that the future is plant-based, the future is recombinant, the future is cell-based. So I think that and honestly, we're seeing this, right? We're seeing this in all the slaughterhouses. When you see them in the US, the slaughterhouses become hotspots for COVID-19.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. Like why are these places that slaughter animals are making people sick? I think the last time I checked, about 4 food inspectors, government inspectors, have died inspecting these plants. And to me, the link between animal agriculture, factory farms, slaughtering animals, is clear. The link between disease is super clear.
Right.
And I think this is going to accelerate. And I think people are realizing that the link between, mistreated animals, pollution, factory farms, which puts animals in high density that are not healthy into one place, is just a breeding ground for disease. Whether it's unfortunately for many of the slaughterhouse workers who are getting very sick because they're so close together, most likely, all the way through to avian flus, which we know have killed people and spread across the world in the past.
Yeah.
So this is
Sorry.
No,
Go for it.
this has increased my commitment to bringing and helping entrepreneurs, bringing new technologies, new foods to disrupt the older animal agriculture industries. I think we're going to see it. And even I know in India, even for milk and eggs, we're going to see a massive disruption, and we're going to see a shift towards plant-based milk and eggs.
Yes, I agree with you. Karthik, you had a question.
Yeah, actually, we have a few audience questions for Ryan. One from Prasad. Welcome, Prasad. Any thoughts that Wild Earth is looking to value add by using organic ingredients?
Good question. So our primary focus has been really to feed as many pets as possible, high quality, clean ingredients. We're already a little bit more on the expensive side. We have looked at organic. We're open to organic. We have no issues with organic. The problem is just the cost. So we've had this question multiple times. The cost would make it very hard for some of our customers to afford our products. And really our mission is not to be the most expensive, high quality product. We want to be an affordable product for as many pets as possible.
And then Karthik, you had some questions to him about...
Yes, actually, this is a recurring question that the audience are asking Ryan. So as an early stage seed impact, investor, what is the first thing you look for in a company that you're looking to invest in? Yeah,
so I mean, that almost says it all, right? Impact. So for me, and this is one of the reasons why, recently, I've actually surprisingly, when I think back to it, I've backed so many Indian entrepreneurs who, wherever they are in the world, they're innovating. So, probably the most famous Indian entrepreneur that I've helped and backed was Uma Valeti from Memphis Meats, the founder of Memphis Meats.
Oh.
And so he's the CEO and founder of Memphis Meats. He's originally from India. Although he was, he lives in the US at the moment, but he still is very fond. He was born in India, loves India. And so, really I'm looking for impact, and it's very clear to me where the impact is going to happen, right? And so that's where the majority of humanity is. The majority of humanity is in Asia. I've spent some time in Asia. I want to spend more time in Asia. And so first I look for where can we make the most impact? Then secondly, I look at the team and the technology. And so, I would much rather back a great team and an okay technology than an okay team but a great technology. A great team will always, if the market shifts and it changes and they have to move and they have to pivot to another area, a great team will always be able to do that. But an okay team won't. So it's always people. I always back people, and sometimes I'll cut a check really quickly. I'll just say, I'm an investor, but I would say an accidental investor. I care about building great things in the world, and so I want to help great people build things in the world. And sometimes that's as an investor, sometimes an advisor, or just a partner. I just give free advice to people sometimes. And so I look for people who have passion and I know are gonna run through walls for what they believe in. And sometimes they may not even have a fully fleshed prototype, right? And sometimes it's like, did you try that? Did you taste that? Did you check that? Did you do all your due diligence? And it's like, no, I believe in the people. And so I'm willing to do what it takes because I believe in those people.
Oh, that's great.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. More questions from our audience, Karthika?
Yeah, indeed, I do. One from Jeevan. Welcome, Jeevan. What is the most interesting company that you've invested in?
Hi, Jeevan. So obviously Memphis Meats, I would say, is definitely one of the more interesting ones. Growing lab-grown meat, so slaughter-free meat, the end of slaughter. That's very exciting. So people who love meat can still have meat, but don't have to actually kill animals for it. But that one's probably very well known. My favorite that is not well known is a company called Catalog Technologies. So yeah, Catalog Technologies, they store digital data in DNA. It's kind of mind-blowing. So what they basically do is they turn ones and zeros into DNA, right? And so they basically save digital information like your hard disk, but in DNA. So in the same storage medium that our cells use to store, the genetic information that makes everything about us, every living thing.
Hearing this correctly, it takes the ones and zeros and puts it into a biological format, not the other. So, okay, this is like
not the other way. So yeah, exactly. That's why it's so mind blowing. It's like you kind of have to sit with that for a moment and go, wait, what? so DNA, the storage material, like I guess the data storage of all life, right? What makes us is the most data dense material in the known universe. So it's about 1 million times more data dense than a hard disk, than our phones, than the storage medium there. So we tend to think that, technology is like this incredible achievement and humanity has done great things, but biology has figured out a solution that is 1 million times better than what we've figured out so far with our minds, right? And so with Catalog, honestly, that made me look at biology in an entirely different way. We're entering a new era. So Mark Andreessen, for those of you that are technology fans,
yes,
Mark Andreessen, yeah. So he basically invented the internet browser.
Yeah, that's good.
And he's done a whole bunch of other really exciting things. He said that software will eat the world, and he was right. Software has eaten the world, right? In terms of like the success of software in India has been huge, and globally. Biology will build our world. Right. And so that's the new era that we're going into. Biology is involved in everything, like everything around us, from the cotton t-shirt that I wear to, us, to the foods that we eat, to the materials that we use, the wood that we use to build. It's all made with biology. And so as we understand how to program biology, we understand how to program the nature of reality itself. And so that's really honestly what I'm super excited about. So a lot of people, I talk about the future of food with a lot of people, but I think that, what I'm truly excited is, yes, we're going to make a more sustainable, equitable, healthier, safer world for everyone with biology and better food. But then can't we make better manufacturing processes? Can't we make cleaner processes? Can't we make cleaner fuels? We can with biology. And so biology can really herald in the new green economy.
Wow. Oh, fabulous. Right. So I want to ask you one question, and then we'll take all the audience questions. Karthika, we have plenty, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we have plenty.
Okay,
So,
good. Excited. We'll go over. I'm happy to go over.
You know, we have a limited number of people that usually watch us on Zoom, because most of our audience is on the social media platforms, and usually there are hundreds on that. So all the questions gets funneled in. So just a sort of a semi-personal question, I guess. What impact has this pandemic had on you personally?
Many impacts on me personally. So you know, it has been, so from a personal perspective, it accelerated, you know, I got married, it accelerated my wedding. Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you.
You know, I can say that there's a whole lot of people on the audience.
There are a whole lot of people who are hoping you were single.
You know, Brian.
But yeah, so you know, that's one aspect of it, you know, on a very personal note. But you know, but I think that honestly, this has forced, I think, many of us to really reflect on how connected we all are, right? From a global perspective, as a global family, how connected we all are, and how, you know, how something that happened in Wuhan, China, right? Whether it was someone eating a bat or an endangered animal like one of the pangolins, as a classical medicine, you know, how that literally has affected our entire world.
Right.
And I think this is the first time, you know, any of us have experienced this type of like realization that we are all connected. Our environment, the people in it. You know, I know we're at times we can be in a very divided world, right? Them and us, right? Whoever them is.
Right.
And I think this has definitely been a moment for me to reflect again on how connected we are. I mean, I've always felt that there really is no difference. You know, I really resonate with a lot of like Buddhist or Hindu principles. But you know, I do believe that we're all one, we're all connected, but this is even more of a sign of that, right? So if someone does something that is bad for the animals, for people somewhere else in the world, it affects us all, and it's up to all of us to help those people too, right? And then from a business perspective, you know, I'm an entrepreneur first and foremost. I believe in doing good things for the world, but I believe in building businesses. I believe in making money. I don't think that's wrong. I think that's a great thing. Do great in the world and make money. This was probably the hardest period of time in terms of leadership, because, you know, this pandemic is affecting everyone, right? People are losing jobs. You know, even though we've been lucky enough at Wild Earth that we've actually, you know, continued to kind of do well. People who work at Wild Earth have been very fearful. There's been a lot of fear, a lot of upset at what's happening in the world. And this has become a moment where you realize that, you know, when you are the CEO of a company, or leader of a company, you know, you're there to serve the people that you lead, right? It's not the other way around. Like, I'm there to serve the people. I care about the people that work with me a lot. I care about the people who support us in our mission, our customers. I care about them a lot. You know, they have a lot of pain as well. And so, you know, we have tens of thousands of customers in the US. And so we hear all sorts of stories from them. Sometimes they'll reach out to me. They'll send me an email. I purposely make my email available. It's ryan@wildearth.com. I might get like 1,000 emails after this, but like, that's the point. I want to be accessible. Like, one lesson that I've always learned is, you know, you want to be accessible to as many people as possible, even if you become overloaded. And I can't guarantee everyone that I'll respond to them. But I think that it's important. And so for me, the leadership was, you know, how really to lead with kindness and empathy, and how hard it is, you know, because we still have, you know, we still have to meet certain sales targets. We still have to, you know, we still have to come to work. Yeah. I mean, if you're not feeling well, you know, and if you're down and upset, how do you lead people through? You can't guarantee everyone that they're going to be all right. Some people's relatives might die. You know, some people that work at your company may get COVID-19 and they might get sick and they might die. And so you can't say everything's going to be fine, you know, keep going. You can only say, this is the reality that we find ourselves in. I'm here to help as much as I can. I wish I could protect you all. I cannot. And so we just have to deal with the reality that we find ourselves in, and lead in a very humble way. So I think this is, as a leader for many of us who are building and running companies, for many of us that are running nonprofits or providing community leadership, I think this has become a very humbling experience. The limitations of what we can do and what we can't do.
Yeah, truly has been, and I that's very great insights, Ryan. I'm fabulous. Karthika, you wanna just ask couple of questions? I want cognizant of Ryan's time.
Yeah,
also.
we're cognizant of time, so I'll just ask one question.
We can keep it going. I have until just a little bit before I have another like 20 minutes roughly.
Okay. So one question from Sonal. Thanks, Sonal, for joining us. If a typically vegan startup raises its seed round, what would you advise them, on the few things to go for? Because they have to conserve cash. So what is it that they must focus on? Is it marketing? Is it improved packaging, new recruitment? What is it that they should focus on?
That's a very hard question to answer. So I'll start with that. That is a very hard question. Everyone is going to have a different response to that. The thing that I found most important and most impactful is, first, you have to remember as a company that you're there to serve your customers, right? And so everything else is secondary. And so you're there to serve. And so the first question I would ask is, what do your customers want, right? Do they want better packaging? Does that make a difference to them? Do they want a better tasting product? That's also possible. And so you should really focus on serving your customers' needs first, and have faith that serving your customers' needs means that you're going to be able to actually continue to develop better and better products. That looking at the customer is always a good way of going forward. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. So, there's many different frameworks for thinking. So the customer-centric approach is really what allowed Amazon and Alibaba to really grow as companies. But if you look at it from the perspective of innovation, if you look at Apple, Steve Jobs felt that you couldn't just go out and ask your customers what to build, right? You had to think through and predict what they would love even before they knew what they would love. And so this is the hard part about being an entrepreneur. This is the hard part about being a founder. It's like you have to take multiple leaps of faith into the darkness and don't know if you're right.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're not, you got to pivot quickly enough, right?
You got to pivot quickly. And so
that's how you pick a team, the people to lead it. Then when you invest, right? So that you have the right mindset.
You have to pick the right team. Yeah, and the hard part is everyone has opinions, and you don't know who's right. So you ask 10 different people, 10 different opinions, and you and your team have to make a decision which direction to go. You have to give yourself permission to take a choice, right? It's not the permission will come from nowhere else other than from inside. And that's from inside. That's the hard part.
Right. 100%. We have a couple more questions.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just writing down a few of these things that Ryan is saying.
Writing down the words of wisdom, good idea.
Exactly, so key takeaways. Anywho, we have a question from Ritu. Thanks, Ritu, for joining us today. How long did it take for you to create your first prototype?
Too long. So it took, honestly, to create. So our first true prototype, I mean, that took a couple months to make the first early prototype, but to make the true prototype, so for our dog food, it actually took us about 2 years. And I know this sounds really crazy. To develop a dog food, it took us about 2 years. For our treats, it was much faster. We were able to create our treats in about 6 months. The reason is that we really focus on understanding all the products, testing the products. We do cruelty-free testing as well with dogs. So a lot of people also don't know this, that many of the conventional dog food companies actually test on dogs in labs. So for those of us that love dogs, I can't imagine why anyone would be okay with testing a new flavor of dog food on a poor dog that's in a lab, lives its entire life in the lab, and is tested on, eventually put down, euthanized. And so from the beginning of starting Wild Earth, we always have this, animals first philosophy. We always put the animals first. And so we will never do cruelty-based testing, lab testing on animals. And so it took us a really long time to figure out how to actually do cruelty-free testing. We actually, we had the consultant from a very large dog food company who actually, he was the head of R&D previously. He left us as our consultant because we refused to test on dogs in labs. And so we had to reach out. We had reached out to PETA, you know, the animal organization.
Yes, yes.
We reached out to them for help because we were like, look, we don't know what to do. We know this is a regulatory thing. We know we have to do this. We don't know how to do it cruelty-free. And they actually helped us a lot with contacting like different universities to figure out how to do volunteer testing. And so, you know, it took us a really long time to do it the right way. I wish I could have speeded it up, but I think sometimes the journey is the point, right? And
are you the
so,
only company out there that does this cruelty-free animal testing? So is that part of your IP? Is it like a patented process now?
No, it's not part of our IP. In fact, we would give it away. I'm actually trying to find a way. I want to inspire the pet food industry to change. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to educate people on how to do volunteer testing versus testing on dogs in labs. I think one of the main reasons why it's still done is because it's how it's always been done, and there's no easy alternative. We want to inspire the entire industry to change. So, you know, for Wild Earth, we're much more than just a company. We're a mission. We're a mission to change, you know, how animals on this planet are treated. And we start with, you know, how pets are treated. You know, we really want to improve the quality of their food, their health, and then also, you know, reduce the suffering and the cruelty that's done to other animals as well.
Yeah, makes sense.
You know, mission first. And so basically what that means is, you know, if a bunch of huge, you know, if Mars and Nestle and General Mills, if they copy us, I'm okay with that, right?
Right.
I'm okay with that. Like, come and compete, come and copy us. Let's make the world better for everyone together.
Excellent. Beautiful.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Karthika, any more questions?
We do have a few more, Lavi, but I'm also a little bit cognizant of the time. So would you have a...
Okay, or?
Yeah, 5 minutes is perfect. Yeah, we still got 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so we have one question from Ravit. Ravit, thanks for joining us today. With the line of investments in biotech, what legislative and FDA approvals cost you to scrap a good product? And if you wouldn't mind sharing that story with us.
Yeah. So actually, I mean, I can share multiple stories. One story that I'm actually pretty disappointed in, which I wish we could have moved faster, is that we were looking at developing a puppy food, a food specifically for puppies. The ingredients for dog food actually have another layer of approval in the U.S. And basically the oils that are approved for adult dogs, it's the same oils. There's no biological difference. Are not yet approved for puppies. So these are like algae oils that we really wanted to use for puppies. And so we basically had to stop the development of a product until we get approval from AFCO, which is kind of this governing board that's below the FDA, to get approval to actually use these animal-free ingredients. And so to me, that was the biggest disappointment, because I really wanted to bring something, you know, first in class. We really focused on bringing new things to the market. It's coming, by the way, but it's just very slow. You know, that's from a pet and Wild Earth perspective. From a regulatory perspective, clean meat. I've eaten clean meat. I've actually eaten clean meat both in the US and actually in Singapore. So Sandia, again, another.
Yeah, we had on. Yeah.
Oh, you had her on. Okay, great. So Sandia is amazing. Yeah. So Shiok Meats, for those who don't know, Sandia is an amazing, actually originally Indian, of Indian descent, born from India, but moved to Singapore. Incredible innovator with her co-founder Kai Yi as well. They started Shiok Meats, which is a cell-based shrimp and seafood company. And so you know, I was delighted to be able to invest and back their mission. They're incredible innovators. But you know, cell-based meats is another frustration of mine. I think this should be approved yesterday. And so, you know, because it's literally, it is slaughter-free, clean, sustainable meat. Just no longer, you know, having to use the animals, just growing the cells. Right. And so that's a frustration of mine. I don't know why it's not approved. And in the US, honestly, it's more of a political thing, because we have a very large meat lobby. They do not want to approve this alternative because it's a new technology, right? It's a new technology that will disrupt them. Whereas in other nations like Singapore, we've seen very promising things. I mean, the Singaporean government is ready to approve. It's like literally, they've been telling Sandy and Kai, like, when are we ready? Let's go. Because they have no existing lobby to lobby against them.
Fair enough.
So governments matter in these things, don't they? I mean, governments and geographies matter. Existing sort of, businesses, legacy businesses matter. Obviously, there's all kinds of protectionist policies around that.
Yeah, and actually in India, I know there's a lot of great work happening in India too. I know Varun from the Good Food Institute is doing a lot of great work in India to really get India ready in a framework. I know India is very complex politically. But creating the framework for approval of these products so that, it'd be incredible, right? If India could be the first to approve these products, would be incredible. But we'll see. There will be a country that will be first. Is it Singapore?
Yeah,
is it India?
My spouse, my wife is involved in the plant-based business, and we've been sort of lobbying the government to say, the word ahimsa meat could be the Indian brand, right? Ahimsa is the word that was coined in this part of the world. It seems like the Chinese are 4 years ahead of us here, and that is a concern. Why would the Chinese be the country of ahimsa meat? It should be India. That's my personal.
By the way, Lavender, that would be very embarrassing. Yeah. China leads with ahimsa meat. It's like, wait a minute.
Especially after everything's happened with this pandemic and what it's like, smell the coffee. Right.
But I think this is the way. I think sometimes you have to remind the politicians. You have to be like, come on, this is ridiculous. Let's move it. Let's go.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of great entrepreneurs in India who are doing some fabulous work in the area. I know you work with some of them. So yeah, I think it's the change is coming. It'll come from the ground up, but it'll happen.
I have no doubt. We've seen the amount of innovation that's come from India on the technology side, from Indian entrepreneurs on technology. We're going to see that in the future of food, right? We're like for sure going to see that. I know, I've talked to a bunch of friends of mine in India who are like, Indian entrepreneurs are ready to go. I've talked to several investors as well in India who are like, who are the Indian entrepreneurs that you would back right now? It's like, well, mostly the ones that I've talked to, but I know that there's some other great ones too. And so it's just the whole, like, you can almost see we're probably about a year or two away before we just go, oh, well, of course, India was going to be one of the leaders in the plant-based meat industry, right? Or in the plant-based, because it's not just plant-based meat, it's plant-based alternatives. So eggs, dairy, cheeses, all.
And I have to put a shout out to some of my country of birth, Sri Lanka, and they're quite excited about it as well. So you might get a few calls consequent to this thing from.
Hit me up. I'd love to know. I've heard Sri Lanka is a beautiful country. I have a good friend of mine that's actually from Sri Lanka. So J. Anthony Pillai. I've abbreviated his name because his first name is very long. I want to make sure it's not to do it justice. But he's a huge fan of what's happening in the future of food movement as well. And I know that he's very interested in helping entrepreneurs as well. So I'm happy to connect anyone who wants a connection from Sri Lanka. A good friend of mine, he's actively involved in the future of food too.
Oh, great. Wonderful. So Karthika, any more?
No, Lavi, I think you should ask that final question that the audience is dying to know.
Oh, let's see.
So we've got a couple of requests. We are associated with a incubator and an accelerator in Sri Lanka as well, part of the show. And so we have a lot of startups and entrepreneurs who listening in today. And so they're wondering whether you would be open to sort of doing a separate session where you would sort of coach them on pitching and, the sort of experience from Shark Tank, maybe a separate half an hour session to sort of, the 10, 15 things that you would, sort of incorporate in a pitch because, they're very, obviously there's a very sort of growing startup movement in Sri Lanka now as well. And happily.
Yes, my mission, my personal mission, right? This is outside of any company or outside of anything else. My personal mission is to help as many entrepreneurs as I can really think about how to effectively raise money and how to make a positive impact on the planet. And so the more entrepreneurs I can help, the better. Obviously, I have limited amount of time, so a format like that.
This will be a completely different business, but yes.
Yeah. But where I can do Q&A for a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm happy to do that. So yes. So the answer is yes. Well, let's figure it out.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks. And so, Ryan, on behalf of Hatch, ReadMe, who is also streaming this through multiple channels as well. Thank you so much for being a wonderful host, a guest. So many insights, so many stories. I mean, it's been a completely fascinating 45 minutes, I must say. So thrilled to have you. Look forward to having you back again as well at some point. But congratulations on your marriage. And I think your dog's name is Lizzie, right?
Liza, yes, Liza, yes.
Liza,
yes.
right. So
yes.
Our regards and a hug to her as well for gracing.
I'll give her a big hug when she comes back. She's gonna wonder where I am, so she'll come back in a second.
So adorable. So big fans of little doggies as well. So thank you so much again, Ryan, and have a great weekend, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks,
Beautiful.
Ryan.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye. You
Thank
too.
you. Bye.
Bye.